Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Mac and Chat. I have a really special guest star with me tonight. She's an indomitable spirit. It's probably one of the best ways that I can sum her up. This past March, her life was turned upside down by a viral enemy that we've all come to know as COVID. And tonight, she's going to share her story with us, how it's affected her life and her family, as well as the theater community. My good friend, Karen Nascembeni. Hey everyone, and welcome back. I don't think there's any need to prolong here with our guest. I am so honored that she is sharing her time with us. We got to know her, when I say we, my husband and myself, got to know her very well when we were living in Salem, Massachusetts. She's the general manager at the legendary North Shore Music Theater. And that's Miss Karen Nascembeni. So let's bring Karen in. Karen.
Hello. It's so nice to see you. What a great intro. Not just guest, but guest star. I'm
Guest
flattered.
star. That is correct. That is correct. Or it's hello. I could have said hello, darling.
Yeah, darling.
But that's your line.
This is my party people glass, but I have my hello, darling glass too. Just turn that around. Hello, darling.
Hello.
This is what I woke up to see a pic. Where is this? Oh, there we go. A picture of me on coffee mugs and wine glasses and T-shirts. It's crazy.
Well, you've had a crazy time of it. And I just thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with us, because it's amazing to me. I said this to you earlier, how many people still don't get it. Mm-hmm. They're not taking COVID-19 seriously. They do think it's just going to be the flu and I'll be on my back for maybe 2 weeks and I'll get over it. But you know better than anyone that that's not the case. I mean, your life changed overnight.
Yeah, sure did.
And please go on.
No, I was going to say, the thing is that you don't know which version of this you're going to get. Like it can be extreme, like the death of my husband. It can be me in a hospital for 65 days, 31 of them in a coma. It can be the people that have gotten the mild colds 3 and 4 months later are now having cardiac issues and all sorts of strange things popping up in their bodies. I just came off of a 2-week heart monitor because one of the lingering effects of COVID is cardiac issues. And I almost died of a cardiac issue when I was in a coma. So they're watching me very closely. Kidney issues, my kidney levels were a little bit elevated, and it's kind of like this thing that lays dormant in your body. And then, I'm going to mess with your kidneys. I'm going to mess with your heart. I'm going to mess with your gastrointestinal. And you just don't know which version you're going to get. And I think that's one of the problems, is that even the people that did get the cold don't realize that in 4 months it may rear its head again. And that's scary.
Yeah. Exactly so. Exactly so. It's just, I see a lot of disregard for human life. Mm. The people who are not wearing the masks, you're taking my freedom away from me. Just a total disregard for human life. And it makes me angry. There's so much about this that makes me angry, especially our GP, Jeffrey Green, Dr. Jeffrey Green, is very close with Anthony Fauci.
Mm.
They were at the start of the AIDS epidemic together, and he'll always tell you that, Dr. Fauci is his hero. And it's he said there was no reason for this to happen. And that's probably a whole other show. That's the thing that
Mm.
makes me angry is that because of a buffoon, sorry for who I offend out there, or maybe not. I don't think I am sorry that this didn't have to happen.
Mm.
You were living a perfectly wonderful, ordinary life, as ordinary as anybody can in the theater. What was happening at North Shore Music Theater at that point? Because we try to keep track of what were the season was done at that point, right?
Yes, we were just getting ready to reopen. We were in rehearsals for our spring children's show.
Yeah,
And so the actors had arrived. I think they had arrived. They were on stage rehearsing, and we were about to open, and that's when we got shut down.
yeah. So you're doing all right, but you notice slowly, both you and your husband Stephen, that something doesn't feel right, and
Right.
it's coming off. Oh, maybe just a really bad sinus infection.
Right. Well, we were both diagnosed with a sinus infection. I was diagnosed in person at a walk-in clinic.
Okay.
By the time he was a few days behind me, and by the time he got to his doctor, they had shut down the offices. So he had a telehealth visit over the computer, and they certainly were not taking him seriously. And he was kind of like, I feel sicker than a sinus infection. And that was the thing that drove me crazy. I mean, I was with people that week that, when I remember one friend saying, oh, I have a fever. I called my doctor and he was like, don't worry, you don't have coronavirus. And I said, how does he know that you don't have coronavirus? That's so irresponsible. And, but they were all flying by the seat of their pants. Nobody was really taking it seriously because honestly, at the time, our government wasn't telling them to take it seriously.
Yeah.
But I mean, this thing was in the States going back to October that I know of because my doctor has a friend who's a doctor. I think it was in Atlanta. And she was telling me that he treated a woman and who was very sick. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And then his entire practice got sick. And then come to find out, they traced it back and she had been in that province in China. So it's been here for a long time.
Yeah. Because even
Well,
Dr.
how
Green.
many actor friends do you have that said, oh my God, I'm sure I had it in January and February and it wasn't diagnosed as such?
And because there's so much about it we don't know. I mean, I know in February I was doing a show and we had to cancel the second night because my throat was on fire. I was very short breathed. I did have a fever for about a week. I had body aches that I didn't want to get. I couldn't sit. I couldn't stand.
Horrible.
And we've now tested negative 3 times, John and myself. But there's a part of me that still wonders, did I have it? Because I am in theater. We do interactive shows. I was going to the gym. I was living my life. At the end of the night, we have meet and greet. People come up as the Golden Girls. They want to hug us and kiss us, and you do, and you do it. But you didn't give it a second thought. But now you go back and go, did I? Because again, with the antibodies, it seems like there's still so much that they're not sure of.
Right.
So it is scary. It's really frightening. So now we're getting to St. Patrick's Day, which is normally a wonderful celebration in your home.
One of our favorite holidays.
Yeah. But this is not a typical St. Patrick's Day for you because you're not going out to celebrate.
Right.
Take it from there.
So we were just gradually over the course of a week getting sicker and sicker. And then on the morning of St. Patrick's Day, Stephen became gravely ill. And I looked at him and I said, honey, I'm going to call an ambulance. And he said, don't call an ambulance. He said, drive me to the hospital. So I drove him to the hospital and we were both, I was pretty delirious driving the car. I probably should not have been driving, because we were oxygen deprived. If there's one thing I can recommend to everybody, get an oximeter, the little thing that goes on your finger that measures your oxygen. I check mine still morning and night to this day.
They just sent us one, actually. We got a little COVID package in the mail from the city. So
really?
They actually gave us one of those. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So we went, you couldn't even at that time, you couldn't even show up at the hospital. I had to call my doctor and she had to advance us. So she said, I'll call and let you know your instructions. So they called up, she called me back. She said, go to the ambulance bay, wait in the ambulance bay and somebody will come to take you. And so we waited, and a nurse, a PA came out, and she took Stephen first. And I didn't remember this at the time. When my sister went to collect my husband's and my belongings at the first hospital, we both went to a second hospital. A PA came up to her, and she said, "I have to share a story with you." And she said, "I was the person who took your brother-in-law out of the car that day." And she said, "I witnessed something so beautiful between he and your sister." And she said, he turned around and he looked at her and he blew her a kiss and he said, "I love you." And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was like a schoolgirl like that. He turned around. I was like, "Oh, that's so cute," you know? And I looked at him and I blew him a kiss and I touched my heart and I said, "I love you too." I would not have remembered that, because when I woke up from my coma, I was like, I never got to say goodbye to him. And then when she told me this, it came back to me and I said, I remembered it so clearly. And then they took me 3 or 4 hours later. I was in the car for a long time. And when I went in, the blinds to his room were closed. And I thought, oh God, this is not good. And so they brought me into my room and they said, "Your husband is very, very sick." And so, I mean, I got on the phone with my sister right away and I said, "This is bad." I said, "I don't know if Stephen's going to make it." I said, "And I'm right behind him." I said, "We are so gravely ill." And so over the course of, that was a Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day. On Friday, I needed to go to the next level of care, and there were no beds in the intensive care. And that was the day that Stephen was med flighted to the second hospital, Leahy Hospital in Burlington. And then later on, 4 days later, I got even sicker, and I needed to go to Leahy Burlington because they had, a better care there, an advanced team. And there were no beds. And so Tuesday night, the 24th, he died. And then very early the next morning, I got his bed for a second time. It was like, even that was just speaks to our level of love. Like, he was taking care of me even when he was in a coma, And so it's just a beautiful love story. I was so lucky to have him. And so anyway, I ended up in a medically induced coma for 31 days. And when I woke up, the first thing I said was, "Where are my sisters? Why aren't they here?" And they said, "Karen, you've woken up into a very different world." And they said, "The hospital is shut down. No one is allowed here." I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. And so then I finally, I have to ask my sister, I keep forgetting to ask her this, if it was like a couple of days later, I think I was finally well enough to speak to her. They wouldn't let me speak to her until they knew that I could retain some information. So she got on the phone with me, and the first thing she had to do was take me through a series of steps of, did I remember what they had told me that morning?
Sure.
And when I passed all those tests, she finally had to tell me that Stephen had died. And she said to me, "There's one thing I'm not going to do, is tell my sister twice that her husband died." So, she just looked, she said to me on the phone, she said, "KK, I have to tell you, Stephen didn't make it." And I said, "I know that." And she said, "How do you know?" And I said, "Because he was with me the whole time I was in the coma. He was just like in the corner of the room, smiling at me with a little glow around him. It was just amazing." And so I knew that. Sorry, I was distracted because I saw that picture. It's so beautiful, the two of us. That was actually taken at Bill's house at Christmas, I think, like maybe last year. So anyway, so I told her, I saw him. I know what I was going to say, that I had the horrific hallucinations, the COVID hallucinations that are just, I had nightmares I could write. I mean, Stephen King has nothing on me, like I could write a book. But it would be too scary. I would never do it. And the visions were so scary and creative and crazy all at the same time.
It
Espionage.
makes you delirious. It obviously makes you delirious.
Yeah, and the ICU can do that, but COVID also does it, and it's really scary stuff. But he was there, thank God, like guiding me like an angel through it. It was awful. So anyway,
That's the part of the story that I love, is being raised Catholic and Italian, and believing in visitations myself, and that just the fact that he was there watching over you, like, "I got your back. Don't worry about this." Yeah.
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 Oh, if I had any doubt about the afterlife before, I certainly don't now, because there have been so many. I'll tell you a crazy story. A year ago for our anniversary, we were up at Ocean Point, Maine, where we got married. And I had a horrible premonition that I was going to die. I had this feeling. I designed a studio apartment in my house. I said, if anything happens to me, down the road, you can move in there and you can rent out the house. He was like, what? This stuff is crazy. What are you doing? So we were leaving our anniversary weekend and we were sitting on the Adirondack chairs at the ocean. And I said to him, honey, I know you love this place. I said, I want you to promise if anything ever happens to me that you come back here. And you'll hear my voice in the wind and in the waves. And he looked at me and he said, why are you saying this? This is crazy. I said, I just have a weird feeling that this is our last time here together. And he said, Karen, you can never die before me because I can't live without you. And I said, well, let's promise each other something. I said, whoever goes first, we'll send a lot of signs to each other and to our friends and family. And I cannot tell you the craziest things that have happened to me and my family and Stephen's family and our friends. A lot of it is around light because he was a photographer. So there's always these weird things with light going on and off or flashing in the oddest places. And so it's been very comforting. I feel him so much around me. It's just amazing. A real protective spirit.
Yeah, it's kind of that, they say look for the signs, and when you least expect it, they'll be there.
Yeah.
Now, when you were, you mentioned this in the article that you wrote, that unbeknownst to you, while you're in your coma, there are thousands and thousands of people they're creating T-shirts and they're creating mugs and they've got your catchphrases, "Hello, darling," and "Come on, party people," and and also the idea of positive prayer, and obviously that works as well because John and I were beside ourselves when we heard that you were, and because you almost died twice.
Twice, right. Once a cardiac issue and once was a secondary infection that I picked up in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but that was an amazing to wake up and to know all this stuff. So my friend Nate Bertoni, who works on Broadway, he's a scenic designer. He works all over the country. He had to channel his energy because he's like a son to both me and Stephen. And so he designed a scholarship, the Stephen T. Richard Memorial Photography Scholarship Fund.
Wonderful.
And he designed these wine glasses, the party people wine glasses, and the coffee mug, the Hello Darling coffee mug, and the T-shirts with both sayings on them. He also designed a Postcards for Karen fund. A Postcards for Karen campaign.
Right.
And people all over the world sent me postcards, like from, Italy and Paris and Ecuador, like people I don't even know. And it was just such a beautiful movement. I think, when Stephen died, people were so devastated because he was so loved. And they thought, my God, we can't lose Karen too. So they all rallied behind me. And my sister, God love my sister Sandy, she took to Facebook because there was a lot of bad information up there. Oh, they were at the Biogen conference. They were here. None of, which was true. And so she said, I've got to manage the narrative. I've got to set the record straight and speak on my sister's behalf when she can't. And for 2 months, she did the most, probably from seeing them on Facebook, the most eloquent, beautiful, thoughtful Facebook posts that were so inspirational, and people clung to her word every night, waiting for them. And they were getting later and later because the doctors were getting to her later and later. And these should be in a book. They are with inspirational quotes and pictures. And so she was the lifeline to what we call my 3,000 closest friends. We're all trying to get information. And I can't even imagine what it was like for her to manage my circle of friends. You can imagine. I work for 3 of Bill's theaters, right? I'm in Massachusetts, I'm in Rhode Island, I'm on the Cape, and plus, I belong to like 20 chambers. So I know a lot of people, it was a very public story and she managed it all. I don't know how she did it.
Well, I love the story of, so she, I hope I remembering this correctly. She sang Over the Rainbow to you?
She did because they were afraid that my brain was gone, quite frankly. And so she said, I've got to communicate with her, get an iPad, bring an iPad in there. So they did. And because when Sandy speaks, you listen. And they brought an iPad in and she sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow and I flickered my eyes and they said, I think she's there. I think she's going to be okay. And I don't remember it in the moment, but, there were so many weird things. Like she posted one day a picture of white lions. I forget if it was a picture of me with white, like, like marble lions somewhere, me or Steven, I can't remember who it was. And I had a dream about Steven being surrounded by white lions when I was in the coma.
Right.
And so I remember waking up and looking it up, and I said, I wonder what white lions mean. She said, why are you asking? And I said, because I saw Steven surrounded by white lions. And she goes, that was one of the pictures I posted while you were under. So it was this weird connection. But when I say tens of thousands of people around the world prayed for me, I believe, and that is what saved me. My friend, I don't know if you guys ever used to eat at Bella Verona in Salem when you lived in Salem.
Oh my God, yes.
Love Bella Verona.
Giorgio and Sheila, as it turns out, they've been friends for years. It turns out through DNA, I just found out he's my cousin, because he's from Malcesine, Lake Garda, and my family's from Brenzoni. It's like, 2 towns next to each other.
Yeah.
And so his niece calls him up, because Stephen and I went to Lake Garda for our honeymoon, and she goes, Zio, that girl that came here on her honeymoon, we're praying for her all over the lake. It's the talk of the lake, because my cousin, I should have told this part of the story. I have a cousin who was beatified, and he's under glass in a shrine in Lake Garda. So one of my other cousins made a very nice donation to the shrine and said, I need you people to pray for the Beato's cousin. And they did. It was just like incredible how people came together to save me and lift me up.
Yeah. Just that, again, the idea of positive prayer, and obviously it worked.
Yeah.
In terms of your family, because I know you have a counselor that you're able to talk to to deal, because the thing that we keep saying is, how is she dealing with all of this?
Yeah.
And for those of you who are watching, Karen went into a coma, and just to recap here, and to wake up to find that she had not only lost her husband, but her father-in-law and one of your best friends.
Yeah.
And I just can't.
And my job. Let's not forget my job, because our industry was shut down.
And your job, because theater has been, that's it. I just don't. I don't know how you deal with all of that. And again, for your family too, it's got to be tough. I know, with taking care of my mom and my godmother, and my brother had the brunt of that. I had it with John when he almost died, that, you don't want the person to see you crying. You don't want, how, as a family, how are you guys dealing with it? How are they dealing with it?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing was, like, when I was in rehab, I couldn't grieve the loss of my husband, because when I woke up, I couldn't walk. I had been on when you are in a bed for that long, your hips go. So you have to learn how to walk all over again. Plus I was given paralytics because I was thrashing, trying to wake up from this coma. I have a very strong will. Yeah. And so oh my God, what were we just talking about? I just spaced. What?
No, I got you. Oh, how your family is dealing with,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I put off the grieving process, okay, because I said, I can't go through 3 weeks of rehab knowing that my husband is dead. Like, I need to know I'm going home to something. So they would come in and they'd be like, are you okay? You've been through so much. You should talk to somebody. I said, I'm not in denial that my husband is gone. I said, but I can't get through this process if I think about it. So let me stuff it just for a few weeks. When I get home to the safety of my sister's home, surrounded by my family, I will grieve then. So I am lucky. I have a beautiful family supporting me. I have all of Stephen's family, God love them, have been by my side. One of the things when you wake up from something like this and your husband's gone, you think that they're not going to be a part of your life anymore. We don't have children, and they think I'm crazy for saying that, but I'm like, I've been with them for 30 years, and I had this panic, and they have been so good to me and have been by my side. So I have my family by my side, Stephen's family by my side, my, friends, so many of them. But the smartest thing I did was to find a grief counselor. And I said, I specifically, because I had a fabulous therapist in the past, but I said, I want someone who has heard the same things over and over and over again. Sure. And so that, they're not hearing it for the first time and they don't know how to deal with it. So I chose somebody, Susan Cooper. She's brilliant. She's, on the state task force for disasters and that kind of thing. And she was just the perfect person for me. And she has guided me. And I don't even know where the gratitude piece came from, but I stayed in a place of gratitude because the whole time I was going, look at Nick Cordero, amputated, lost a limb, didn't make it. I mean,
That's
the nerve damage that people are getting from being prone. The girl next to me in the rehab was on, drugs around the clock because she was in agony, because when they prone you in the ICU, they flip you like a pancake. They put a sheet over your chest. You've got one underneath you. They squeeze it all together, and then like four guys, guys and gals, flip you, and you're like, bam, on your stomach for several hours, and then however long, then they flip you back. So as a result, people are getting pinched nerves in their shoulders, in their neck, in their legs. I didn't get any of that. So I just kept counting my blessings, and that spiraled into this crazy, beautiful thing of gratitude where I say, I had the love of my life for 30 years. People, I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I've never known great love. And I had a man who worshiped me and adored me, and I worshiped and adored him. We mutually respected each other and did everything we could for each other. And would I love another 30 years with him? Absolutely. But I'm so lucky to be alive. And Stephen would never want me to crawl up into a ball in the corner. He knows that I'm the life of the party. And I'm not ready to go back to being the life of the party, but but I'm also, I can't, he would never want me to waste my life.
Yeah.
Crying every day over, I still cry every day over him, as you can tell. But I also can still find joy. So I don't know, where this inner strength comes. I've been through a lot in my lifetime, a lot, medically, emotionally. And my therapist said, that's where your strength comes from, Karen, because you've had to deal with a lot, and eventually, not that you get used to it, but you'd be surprised what you're capable of dealing with. Look, a lot of people say the second year is worse. I wasn't just grieving my husband. I was trying to put the pieces back together of my body.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking one day at a time. That's all I can do.
And it's funny. I said this at the top of the show. You do have an indomitable spirit. I mean, I just know that about you. We know that about you. And it comes down to that which does not kill us. It's a cliche, but you just get stronger and stronger, which is a good lesson for, because some people do kind of, no matter what it is, COVID, they just kind of crumble, and you can't crumble.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that wakes up every day. For my whole life, my family used to call me Karen, can I? Because I was never satisfied. Can I go to the movies? Can I go to the football game? Can I do? And I drove my parents crazy, the poor things. But I'm just one of those people that wakes up happy every day. I'm really lucky. I'm so lucky. And Stephen was kind of the opposite. And I would say to him, I would make him do gratitude exercises with me. He'd be like, oh, what's going to happen today? And I'd be like, I'd wake up, what's going to happen today? What are we going to do? And so I would say to him, what are you grateful for? And he'd say, you tell me. All the things he was lucky to have in his life. And he'd go, okay. He was so funny.
And you cling on to the good memories, obviously. I mean, you just cling on to those, and obviously 30 years, you guys just you have so many wonderful memories.
We had a charmed life. We were never blessed with children. We tried. We did like 7 rounds of in vitro, but we were blessed with children in our lives. All of our nieces and nephews and friends' kids that are like children to us. And, look, my life with Stephen was one big party. He was a photographer, so we did all those crazy, sexy things, the shoots and all that. And I worked in theater, and we always had a blast. We were so lucky.
Yeah.
That's not lost on me,
Hey, Karen.
DJ.
Hey. Can we tell our audience a little bit about, you have we know you're out of work right now, and that, COVID has affected us in the arts community. Can you tell everyone watching what you do for a living and have done for the last several years?
Sure. I've worked for Bill Haney's companies, the North Shore Music Theater, Theater by the Sea, and most recently Cape Live. I'm the general manager of North Shore Music Theater. It's a 1,500-seat theater in the round, one of the most respected regional theaters in the country. It's been around, this would have been our 65th year. And but I get involved with a lot of aspects at the theater. Stephen was our photographer at Theater by the Sea, and he did a little bit of work for North Shore too. And so we're all out of work right now, every one of us. We are all laid off. And our plan is to reopen in May, God willing. But, Bill said, I am not going to do it until it's safe. And so, he said, we've got all these sweet little old ladies that are our matinee people. He goes, I'm not going to put them at risk. I'm not going to put my employees at risk. He said, I want to get back as soon as possible, but I'm not going to do it until it's safe for my employees and my patrons.
We actually have a question for you. We asked for some people to submit questions, and if anyone's watching, if you want to submit a question, please message us. We have two really close friends in our lives. They split their time between New York City and their home in Vermont, but they're very actively involved in arts organizations in and around Burlington. Can you speak to, they have a three-part question. Can you speak to the difference for those people who may be board members or involved in a not-for-profit or their community theater, the difference between the three enterprises that Bill Haney and you run versus a not-for-profit theater, and some of the challenges you have post-COVID?
Sure. I mean, the perception is actually kind of opposite of what people think. Like, a lot of people think that we're for profit, so we must have a lot more money. But the reality is we're one of the only theaters in the country that's operating profitably as a for-profit, because butts and seats don't cover it, right? We run on a shoestring at North Shore. Like, we all do what 20 people in the old company used to do. And that's the only reason we've been able to survive. And it gets harder and harder every year, as that subscription base dies off and people of our generation don't necessarily want to subscribe to 5 shows. They want to have flexibility and, pick and choose what they want to do. So God love the nonprofits, because people just throw money at them and they can survive as a result of it. And, but we're butts and seats, and that's it. We do, a little bit of corporate work, but it's not a big tax write-off. They can take like a marketing tax write-off for it. But we're having serious discussions about going nonprofit as a result, because it's really hard to survive. And look, all of us have worked for less money for all these years because we would take a bullet for this theater. We love it, the core people there, but people are getting tired, and we're all doing the work of so many people.
Yeah.
That, and I think post-COVID, it's going to be even worse, because people have been sitting around and all of us are like, wow, I was sick all the time. Kevin and I were like, when we would go to New York, like sometimes I would join them for auditions in New York. The first thing Kevin and I would do is go to the pharmacy, the health food store, and load up on every vitamin under the sun,
Right.
I think all of us know that the pace we were keeping was absurd. I don't know how anyone thinks they're going to go back to it. But we all did it because we love it. And Bill is the Energizer Bunny, like keeping up with him.
And such a sweetheart.
Oh, he's a love.
He's a sweetheart. And for anyone who has never been to North Shore Music Theater, you have to go. I mean, it was it was one of the ladies, because I had never been, John had never been, and so you just need to go. The shows are amazing, and I think the first show we saw was The Little Mermaid, which I had not seen on Broadway because there are too many lousy things of it, but it was amazing. But the one that blew us away was Les Mis. That production, oh my God.
Do you know that almost every person from that cast, so many of them got jobs on Broadway after that show? That show was perfection.
It was
Les Mis is my favorite show. I've seen it a million times. And I remember the day watching the last show with Bill and Kevin, and we were sitting together. And when, Jean Valjean went down our center lift, we're a theater in the round. He went down the center lift and, doing whatever. We were sobbing. We were like, this is so beautiful. I can't believe what we've created here.
I thought, how are they going to pull this off in the round? Les Mis of all in spades. I mean, it was just incredible. And I cannot remember, because I did reviews for HuffPost for several of the shows. I think the Les Mis was the first one I wrote about. And now his name has flown right out of my head.
Will Ray played Will Ray. Yes.
He was beyond. When he sang "Bring Him Home."
Yeah.
I
saw him. right afterwards. He was. I was there on one of the nights where he was the alternate, and he went on. It was fabulous.
Everybody in that cast was perfection.
And you mentioned in your review in HuffPost, you mentioned that
Yes.
Producers on Broadway, if you're reading this, you have got to cast this guy.
Yeah.
And
they did.
And they did.
And you know, how many times at North Shore have you seen a standing ovation in the middle of a show?
Mm.
He was so amazing.
Everybody was.
They felt they had to ovate. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
They have a second part of this question.
Sure.
How long do you think it's going to take, both in terms of when do you think North Shore Music Theater, by the way, they're big fans of the theater. When do you think North Shore will be able to open? And then when do you think audiences on the North Shore are going to feel safe enough to come back and see a show?
Our plan right now is to open in May. Okay, that's what we're planning on. But of course, as any good business would have a backup plan. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I said, we have to have 5 plans, A, B, C, D, and E. I said, we have to be ready to, are we going to open in May? If not, are we ready to open in June? Are we going to open in July? You know, so we have a plan for everything under the sun, you know, up until worst case scenario. We will open when it's safe. We're at the mercy of the pandemic, obviously, and we're at the mercy of the government and what they're going to allow us to do, both locally and statewide, because the town we're in actually has had some tougher rules about numbers for gatherings and whatnot than the state has. So, you know, we're going to do it right, because I said to, you know, Bill and I have both said, we can be fine right now, you know, just being very careful, paying the bills to keep the place open, pay the big mortgage every month. But I said, if we put a show on too soon and open and have to close, that could bankrupt any theater, you know, because all of the money that goes into it, you know, you recoup it once it's up and running. But if you shut down after day one, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
And we're fiscally responsible that way. We're not going to take any chances. We want to be around for the long haul. So there are some people who are ready to come back now. There are other people who are saying thank you so much, because I think that they felt if we had opened too early that they would have felt guilty if they didn't come back, and they were nervous about it. We want you to be able to come back and not be like, oh my God, that guy next to me just coughed. You know, I actually hope as a society we adopt wearing masks a little bit more. You know, like somebody said to me recently, we're like the only culture who hasn't adopted wearing masks at one point. You know, if you have a cold, why wouldn't you wear a mask so that you don't spread it to all of your coworkers? Or if you have the flu, wear a mask so you don't spread it to the people around you. And I think going forward, that could be a socially acceptable thing. If you're not, you know, feeling great, you have the sniffles, wear a mask. Why not? Why wouldn't you do it?
Sure. You know, it's interesting.
The vaccine and everything else, who knows what's going to happen? You know? And how many people are going to take the vaccine? And
yeah, I know the vaccine. You've got. I think it's wonderful. The fact that we've got, you know, Governor Cuomo has said, I'll take it on TV in front of everybody, and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and George W. Bush, and, you know, they're all, and Dr. Fauci at the top of the list saying, I'll be the first one to take it, you know, but now everyone's worried about the side effects, and I'm kind of like, but you got to get over that.
Right.
Because if someone tells me, if Dr. Green were to say to me, you know, first time you're going to be fine. Second one, you may get a week's worth of COVID-like symptoms. You may throw your guts up, but in the long run, it is going to
be dead.
Exactly. So
at least you're going to live.
Yeah. So I'm getting a little irritated with people too who are saying like, oh, I don't know if I want to take the vaccine. I'm like, you don't know if you want to take the vaccine. It's, you know, something is, I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. It's such a personal choice, but I hope a lot of people will do it.
We have another question here about the season. You know, it's hard to pick a favorite. Peter mentioned Les Mis. But we love A Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol. Karen, we want it so badly.
Margaret Vecchio's watching, and it's her favorite. And her question
I'm wearing my little North Shore Music Theater jacket right now, my Christmas Carol.
Yay!
Yeah, our Christmas Carol is hands down. I've seen a Christmas Carol a lot, all over the place with major stars in it. Nothing compares to our Christmas Carol. And I say that before I was an employee. I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times. And David Coffey, who plays Scrooge, is hands down the greatest Scrooge I have ever seen.
30
David
years,
Coffey
right?
and Gerald, this would have been his, this would have been our 30th year. This would have been his 26th, I think.
Okay.
I think it was either last year or the year before we did his 25th. So I can't remember off the top of my head. But David Coffey is brilliant.
Amazing.
I mean, the only other person that I put in that category is Gerald Charles Dickens, the great, 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 great grandson, who I've seen do the one-man show. Mm-hmm. He's brilliant. But David Coffey is astounding in that role.
And it's so beautiful. And I mentioned this online the other day that there is such a great plot twist because the way the show starts and then the way the show ends, and you don't see it coming. You just don't see that twist coming. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because you all have to go next December to see it, because there are several Kleenex moments in the show, but when that twist comes in, forget it. Again, you're just a sobbing mess. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
And first of all, whoever wrote that twist is so unbelievably clever.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, there's several plot twists on it. I love the chemistry that Cheryl has with David.
Oh,
she's amazing. Cheryl. They're so great together.
Mrs. Dilber.
They get flirty with each other. They get a little flirty. It's great.
You should see at the kids' shows when he kisses her, they go crazy. All the children's shows that we do with the schools, it's so cute. But Cheryl and David have the most beautiful chemistry together, and she's a brilliant character actor too. I mean, I just love their work, you know. And you know what, David, I just interviewed him for North Shore Magazine, and he said that it's such a beautiful experience to do this show because at the end you end up being happy, like you go through this whole happy catharsis. He goes, usually so often in art it's the other way, you end up like sad or dead or whatever. So he goes, I feel great at the end of every show, and I always say if everybody could see A Christmas Carol, the world would be a better place, because the message is so brilliant. And this is John Kimball is the one who did this adaptation, and John's work is just amazing, and Kevin directs it so beautifully now. He's kind of John handed over the reins to him, and they've made some tweaks and whatnot. And it's a little bit different every single year.
So Mo Ravecchio lives on the North Shore, and she actually lost a friend too from the shore who was an usher at NSMT. Her question, Eileen, yeah, I love Eileen. Her question is, and we know this, producing so many shows a year too. You mentioned Christmas Carol being one of your favorites in Les Mis. Do you have any other babies, productions that you put on that you love?
I mean, in general, Les Mis and Miss Saigon are my two favorite shows.
Oh, one of my favorites.
yeah. But I would say of pieces that we've done, we did Sunset Boulevard last year with Alice Ripley, and it was, I wish you guys could have seen it, because we took out a third of the seats and we created her mansion. I mean, we had a car drive onto the stage for the set when they're like the Hollywood set scene. And so Sunset Boulevard was a work of art, like an absolute work of art. Jersey Boys that we did this year, also directed by Kevin Hill, that was absolutely brilliant. And I've seen Jersey Boys a number of times. And again, just in the round, he designed this really cool bridge over the stage so that the stage rotated throughout the entire show. It was so inventive. So those are some of my favorites for sure. Years ago, this was pre-Bill in the old company, we did this show called Abyssinia that was really beautiful. That's one of my really favorite North Shore memories too. It was I don't know why that show is not done more often. Beautiful piece. But in the past few years, I mean, Little Mermaid was beautiful. Mamma Mia, our Mamma Mia was off the charts. That was a really great piece of work.
Sister Act was wonderful.
These are all Kevin Hill directed shows. Yes, they sister acts. Do you know there were people in that cast that said this is what the national tour should have been. This is what Broadway should have been. And they said, I think Kevin found the heart of Sister Act. Like he found the real soul of that show. And Jeanette Bayardelle in the lead, oh my God, she rocked the rafters. She was just brilliant in it.
And the Reverend Mother. Who was the Reverend Mother?
I know, I'm blanking on her name. I'm so sorry.
She was incredible.
Forgive me, she's brilliant. She is a big Broadway name. It's killing me that I cannot remember her name.
Tall, very imposing.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed that I can't remember this. Sorry.
It'll come to us, or we'll Google it. I think John is going to go. But she was incredible. And again, when you're dealing with something the movie was on the other night. Anytime the movie's on, we have to watch it. It's just one of those movies, and that's a tough act to follow when you've got Whoopi Goldberg and Maggie Smith, and those ladies were incredible.
Oh, they were brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes, those are some of my favorites.
So for everybody watching, once this nightmare is over, and well, I think John already bought our tickets for A Christmas Carol.
Opening night.
We got opening night. Yeah.
Yes. Is it Ellen? Is Ellen? Oh my God! I can't believe I can't remember this. Sorry, I apologize. I love her.
I wrote about it and I can't. After a while, everything starts. Ellen Harvey.
Ellen Harvey. I'm so sorry, Ellen. Yes.
She's wonderful.
She is a joy.
But they're beautiful productions, and it's so much fun. And there's gay nights. LGBTQ night, which is
out nights. The out nights are just my favorite thing in the world.
Out night, where Judy would show up and
after the show, we have a party at our restaurant, and the cast comes up and sings, and guests perform, and you've performed, and it's just a blast. It's an absolute blast. Yeah, and
it's taking you obviously you have friends in all facets of the business, but from an actor's perspective, I said people. The best way I can sum it up is we're human vampires in the live theater. We feed off of human energy, and we are extremely undernourished right now because, we've done virtual shows. We're doing virtual shows. I think we're reaching a point now where people are virtual showed out because there's just so much out there. You're trying to make a buck at it, but then people are doing stuff for free, so you can't compete with free. But also the human connection, why we went into this. I've never had any interest in doing film. I just love that connection that you can only get from a live audience. And it's
not just the actors, right? It's the actors, it's all of us creatives, right? We all have souls that are bursting with creativity, and scenic designers and wardrobe people and wig people and lighting designers and sound designers. I'm our poor industry. And the sad thing is so many couples, because we all work so much, you end up marrying or being partnered with somebody in the industry. So these are dual incomes gone.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's tough. It's tough. And a lot of actors are getting minimal, actors and scenic people, all of them, our creatives are all getting minimal amounts on unemployment because a lot of them are 1099 and some of that wasn't, included, and it's really sad. And it breaks every time somebody moves out of the city. It breaks my heart to go home and live with their parents. Like they'll probably never come back. Some of them.
Yeah, we know several people that just had to, even in our building. One guy was a stand-up comedian. He wasn't an actor, but he said, I thought this was going to be my big break, and I can't afford it. I have to go back home. So
all the years of studying, the musicians, think about the musicians that are out of work, you know, all those years of studying and just you're on hold.
You just mentioned how many of us are gig employees, 1099, we'll go from theater to theater, or Peter will do, a weekend in this town and it's a 1099.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people understand that on December 26th, all gig workers who've been able to get pandemic unemployment assistance, as of right now, if the Stage Act doesn't pass through, and there's a really good chance that it's not going to pass through until Biden is in office, but December 26th will be our last unemployment checks. And what do we do from December 26th to January 21st. Hope that's his first executive order, one of 10.
Right.
But I don't think a lot of people get that. We have
No.
somebody watching right now, Sammy DeSocio. Sammy, we call her Munchkin. She's one of our fans. She wants to know, how does somebody work at your theater? What's that process look like? You
In
mentioned
an actor capacity or any role? What role?
acting.
Oh, acting. We do auditions both in New York and in local. We love to cast local people as well, but most of our actors come from New York, and the guys are there most of February, March, April. They're there for weeks on end, casting the season. So Equity, we put all of the announcements up on Equity. We are an Equity house, and you just check out that we'll post, whenever we're ready to get up and running, we'll start posting, and then you just come in for auditions. And who knows what that's going to look like? Our auditions going to be remote now,
Yeah.
because, we cast in February for our first show in June. So I don't know that we're going to be ready to be casting in February in New York.
Yeah.
We're going to probably have to do a hybrid model. We're going to probably have to do, we don't normally allow taped auditions, but we're probably going to have to do that this year.
Sure. Yeah, because you can't have people lining up in the rehearsal hall. It's it's a recipe for disaster. Yeah. So
definitely.
it's the whole thing is crazy, and we just can't wait to get back. It's we just miss it so much. It's like a little piece of you dies inside, not having that. You get to Sunday night and you're like, okay, I'm glad I have a night or two off, but then get me back out there. And we know, I think in the city there have been at least 3 cases of suicide from actors who, young actors, well, one, I think, gentleman in his 60s, and 2 young actors who thought, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What's going to happen to me? And they just took their lives.
I had an actor friend in New York who said that he's, a couple of people have jumped off his building. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's the ones we're talking about.
I know we're going to get through this. It's like, you can't see it right now. It's, because there's so much ahead of us still, but we are going to get through this. And I just hope that anybody that is thinking about it reaches out to someone, because we'll be back on stage before you know it.
And we've heard you sing.
Yes, we have.
On those Thursday nights. So have you ever been on the other side of the stage?
Yeah, I've performed since I was a baby. My dad was kind of the Frank Sinatra of Springfield, Mass.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So if you ever want to send me into therapy, just go like this. Line up, girls. Line up. Let's go. We would learn a new song during the day, and then he'd call my mother. He'd like, Eva, bring the girls to the gig, right? And they'd like pull us out of bed. We'd have to go perform. We didn't even know the words of the song. It was awful. And but my sisters and I all performed since we were babies in my dad's band, and in all the high school shows and all that kind of stuff. When I was in high school, this is like talk about one of the ways I got my strength in my life. My God, what I've been through. But when I was in high school, they thought I was going to be the next Liza Minnelli, or really the next Barbra Streisand. I sounded just like her. And I looked like Liza, but I sounded like Barbara. And I would get the leads in the show. And on the days of the show, I would get laryngitis. It was so weird. And we didn't know what was happening. But what I didn't know was I was really sick with Graves' disease. I had a thyroid condition. And so and my neck was just like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what happens when you get nervous is the blood would rush into the thyroid or wherever, and it would like choke out my vocal cords. So, so after I graduated high school, I got sicker and sicker, and I finally had like an 8-hour surgery, and they removed it. And I didn't know if I was ever going to sing again. So I'm lucky I can still sing. My voice isn't what it was. I used to have a really beautiful natural vibrato, which I don't feel is like still there. But so that's how, again, silver lining, Karen, I went into radio because I was like, wow, I have a cool voice now. Like, so maybe I'll go into radio. So I went into radio. And, and then when I woke up from being intubated, it was like, that was the big fear. What's my voice going to sound like? And it's my voice is relatively normal, but there's a part of it that's not there right now. Like when I do the ads, because I do a lot of radio ads for Bill, and when I do that ad, Bill Haney's like that part of that pushing part of my voice is not there right now.
Yeah.
Obviously your vocal cords are a muscle like anything else. I'm hoping it's going to come back. Again, I'm grateful I can still sing. But today that memory popped up of me singing at Out Night. And I was like, even though I wasn't in great vocal shape and it was 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm sure there was alcohol, but I still thought, wow, I'm lucky I could still do that. And so now it's going to be like one more, well, I can still sing, but I can't hit those notes, so I don't know what's going to happen. Look, I'm just lucky to be alive. I'm grateful I can speak and that I didn't have a tracheotomy because they were this close to doing a tracheotomy. And oh God, thank God they didn't, so yeah, so I still sing a little bit, but I don't know what my voice is going to be like going forward. We'll see.
Well, you're the wonderful opening voice to all of the shows. You get the shows up and running. It's get the audience revved up. Yeah. That was also one of my favorite. When Bill was the priest.
Yes.
In Sister Act,
right.
We fell out of our chairs. We didn't see that coming. That was great.
That was so fun. He was like, Kevin, you got to direct me. Kevin's like, you just got to wave your arms. He loved it. He had so much fun with it.
He's a good guy. And you feel, all of us, your heart breaks for anybody. And obviously all businesses have been affected. Living here in Manhattan, we see every other day another diner or restaurant is going out of business. Tiny little business because they just can't do it. Yeah. And there is that fear of when are we going to come back? When are we going to get to do this again? 9/11, this sounds bizarre, but the worst thing we worried about was getting blown up. Now that sounds crazy, but it's like, but no, we can still go back to work.
There was a common enemy in terms of we knew that we were safe amongst each other,
right?
Yeah,
but you could still go to work, and people were afraid to come to the theater. But then they got over that, and it was about trying to make, take their minds off their troubles, which is what our job is. And to not even be able to do that, it's
and this pandemic is a 9/11 for 3 months. Like that. That's the number of deaths. It's 9/11 happening for 90 days now.
Yeah.
Oh, every day a 9/11.
90 days. Yeah.
Well, almost 3,000 people died in 9/11. Think about how devastated we are every 9/11, right? That's happening every day for 3 months. Like 3,000 people a day for 3 months. What's the number now? I don't even know. 270,000, 280,000. It's
281 as of this morning. 281,000.
Yeah. Well, I've also likened it to. I've likened it to the Holocaust. I really have. I look at World War II. I look at the Holocaust, and again, I'm not going to drag you into my politics, but I truly feel that way. I feel that somebody got in charge, and again, I make no apologies whoever I offend out there who's watching. Someone who was able to find a way to kill people without gas chambers. Right. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel.
I certainly understand the passion with what you say that. We talk about the 1099 and gig economy. I know when we first met you, we lived in Salem for 4 years. You were the president of the Beverly Chamber. And what's it like right now on the North Shore? Are there businesses that have closed permanently that aren't going to be able to come back? And if so, what are those industries?
Yeah. There are restaurants that have closed that are not going to come back.
Yeah.
There are, everyone's trying to get inventive. Everyone is trying to pivot and reinvent themselves. I think probably first quarter of next year is going to be the real telling quarter because they've been able to kind of piece it together for a while. But then you get into, January and February. Like a lot of the restaurants survive January and February because they sell so many gift certificates for Christmas and Hanukkah. And they're not going to do that this year. A lot of people, we keep saying, support the local businesses, buy some gift certificates. There are still people that are going, yeah, I'm going to buy that gift certificate, but I don't know if they're really going to be here in the new year.
Right.
You know, maybe I can buy it and use it the week between Christmas and New Year's before they go out of business. You know, it's tough. I mean, the chambers are working really hard. You know, I belong to over 20 chambers between the 3 theaters. And we're feeling it. We're feeling it. Members can't pay their dues. We're trying to get inventive in giving people like a rolling anniversary date so that they can put off paying. It's tough. It's really tough. The hospitality industry is just completely devastated. The hotels, the group salespeople, the bartenders. There's a new thing now in Beverly. They're trying to get people to, I forget what it's called. It's something like triple tip or something like that. If your bill is $10, you tip $30 or something. I don't know. It's like some outrageous amount of money because the poor servers, you know, they're not making any money in tips.
Yeah.
So if you have it, spend it and spend it locally. That's the message that all of these chambers are doing. You know, look, we all have the Amazon arriving every day because it's easy. But I'm trying to, there are days that I go out and I only go to local businesses.
Sure.
You know,
yeah,
that's what I'm going to do. When you have the money to spend, please spend it locally because these people need it.
Yeah, because it's amazing here in the city how many small businesses are just, we'll never see them again.
Right.
Or little, we had so many little restaurants up here and now they're just gone. And you know they're not coming back.
It's heartbreaking because these people are bankrupt. You know, they didn't just go away. Now they're bankrupt and they're trying to pick up the pieces.
And I know Salem got hit. Because they did, Halloween is their major export.
Yeah.
So,
you know,
yeah, they were pretty busy though. I have to say, other than on Halloween night because they shut the city down because they didn't want craziness. But because there weren't the outside street vendors, I mean, think about that. All of the carnival people, all the street vendors, I've seen some with their little, you know, popcorn stands in their front lawns at houses because they're not doing the fairs. So they're like selling it on to people off the street, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad. It's sad. You know, and this is what, like when people complain about wearing a mask, if we all just wore our damn masks 6 months ago, we'd all be back to work now. I mean, is it New Zealand that's up and running? The theaters are thriving. I don't even think people are wearing masks in them.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of it. They're all giving standing ovations and packed seat to seat, you know, because they have 0 cases because they did the right thing. They shut down quickly instead of like prolonging this over. What is it, 9 months now?
Well, now, and how do you respond to this? Because you've got a right to certainly sound off. Oh, you're taking away my freedom. By making me wear a mask, you're taking away my freedom.
I can't even.
Yeah,
I can't even. The fact that you can't be a kind human being to protect your neighbor.
Yeah.
You know, what is wrong? We are such a selfish society. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
You know, I can't go to my bar. I mean, look, you're talking to somebody who was in a restaurant every night of the week. Stephen and I worked so much. I'd call him on my way home and say, meet me at so-and-so. Meet me at, because it'd be 9 o'clock at night and I didn't want to cook and do dishes, you know, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
We're the same way.
That's us.
That was us. And I don't even want to go into a restaurant right now. So I try to do takeout as often as possible to support them. But it's not the same, you know, having to wear your mask. I wear I've only been a handful of times and I wear off hours and I wear my mask the whole time. If the server comes to the table, I put my mask back on. I only take it off while I'm eating. That's the only time.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm super paranoid. Obviously, I don't want to get sick again.
Of course.
We lived in 3 places when we lived in Salem in terms of where we ate.
Yes.
Opus.
The Tavern in the Hawthorne.
Tavern in the Hawthorne. Who by the way, who's the bartender that we love there?
Well, Allison.
Allison's mom is the maitre d' at
Bella Verona.
Tina
is a good friend. Yeah, she's a dear friend of Sheila's too. I love Tina and Allison.
I
love that Hawthorne pub. That little Hawthorne pub. I always feel like I'm in Europe when I'm in there. Isn't that a great little spot? I always sit by the fire. Yeah, it's so
and
cool.
The food is good.
You did it.
We ate about 100 meals a year there on average. Yeah.
There was a wonderful place. I'm not sure if you ever went. It was called Firenze.
You remember?
Yes, they're closed now, but I did go. Yes.
And there's an interesting story there because we were there one night just before we moved. It was February, and there was an older lady there. And God love the people of Salem. I have to be delicate and diplomatic about this. I went into Salem as a tourist because I love the witch trials. I wrote a book about the witch trials.
Well, tell Karen how we ended up living there.
Because I wrote the book about...
Right. We researched.
Oh, yes. And John almost died through a medical accident, malpractice. Yeah. They perforated his esophagus. And when he was in recovery, I said, I think that when this is all over, we should consider moving to Salem.
Right.
And I just wanted him to get well. I didn't really mean it.
I was in ICU for 3 weeks, and in order to motivate me, that's what he would keep bringing up Salem, and he would keep bringing up Salem.
I think we should move to Salem. And then our social worker in Salem, Kathy McKinnon, what a sweetheart of a lady. She was a godsend to us. When we were having some couple troubles, she's like, my guess here, Peter, is that you didn't want him to die. So you were trying to put all these... I said, yes. And she said, John, you took him up on it. She said, but you have to realize it's okay to lie to somebody you think might die.
Right.
So that was, yeah.
And we love Salem. It's just...
I love Salem.
We're theatrical performers who have always had a theater.
Oh, well, but the point of the story was that it was February, and which is a very dark time in Salem. There's not too much going on. So this older native local said, oh, I love this. It's just so peaceful. I shudder to think about those people coming and taking over. And the owner said, with all due respect, ma'am, without those people, I couldn't survive the rest of the year. Meaning the Halloween crowd and so on and so forth. And when we found out that he went out of business, we were heartbroken because the food was incredible. Yeah. So
that was delicious. Yeah, Salem has a lot. The restaurant scene there is incredible.
Good food. Good. Yeah. You're hard pressed to get a bad meal in Salem, Massachusetts.
Was Goodnight Fatty there when you guys were in town?
Which one?
Goodnight Fatty, the cookie company.
No.
Oh my God. Okay. I think it's the same people that do the, like on Wednesday night, if you know the secret password, you can go to the alley and get the pork sandwich, cash only. So I think it's the same people. Anyway, they opened up this place. It's now right near the Wish Museum, and it's called Goodnight Fatty. And they're only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they don't give you the menu of the cookies until like right before they open at 5 o'clock. And it's 3 cookies, and you have to buy all 3. You can buy 3, 6, 9, 12, however many you want. Hot out of the oven. Oh my God. And they're crazy themes. Like it could be a Willy Wonka, blueberry vanilla thing. And it's fantastic. The next time you're in town, you have to go on. It's only on the weekend. So it's my new guilty pleasure.
What was the thing, those cookies we used to
love?
The
Horribles. They were a woman that used to make them. Was it called? Not Tea and Sympathy.
It might have been Tea and Sympathy.
Tea and something. She was on the Wharf, and then she moved to the Essex Street Mall for a little while. And I believe she passed away. But we were on vacation in Disney, and the woman at the Disney Emporium, because you have to show where you're from, it said Salem. And we struck up a conversation, and this was before we moved there. She said, you've got to go and get the Horribles. And I said, what's a Horrible? And she said, it's the most amazing chocolate chip cookie you will ever eat in your life. And
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. Her name was Rose. I remember that.
Do you cook, or does your sister cook? Because I'll send you the recipe.
Her daughter put the recipe online.
It's okay.
I make cookies once a year for my annual cookie swap, which is the most cutthroat fun event of the year. And
I remember you posting pictures.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great story, and we have to finish it. We're so close, but and if this has taught us anything, life is short, so get with it, But yeah, I love the cookie swap. We're not going to do it this year because we're going to do just the Zoom portion, but not meeting in person and eating the cookies and all that. We're just going to connect. So
the other day, now this is 2 days ago, you finally got to reunite with the nurses who helped to save your life. And we watched the segment, and as I told you, we were just complete sobbing messes. I just can't imagine what that was like for you. What was it like to meet this team of people that worked, you know, fervently to make sure that you didn't leave us?
Yeah, it was so beautiful. You know, when I was getting wheeled out of Leahy, when you go down the hallway, at that time they were applauding people, you know, because you lived and you made it, and they would applaud. They actually used to play a theme song, but they stopped when I was leaving because a lot of people who weren't getting out were getting depressed about it. So anyway, I'm leaving, and I go through my wing where I was, where I recognized everybody, and then we go down the hallway, and there's all these people lined up, and one of the nurses looks at me and she says, "Karen, can I take your picture?" And million thoughts go through your mind in a second, right? And I thought, why are you asking me that? And is that even appropriate? And then I went, Karen, shut up. These are the people who saved your life. They were the ICU nurses. And
Right.
I thought, they love you enough. They went on this journey. They want to take your picture. Take my picture. So in a split second, you wouldn't even know this was going through my mind. I said, of course, you know. And so it was this beautiful thing that I experienced. So anyway, a number of people through friends have said, the nurses at the ICU at Leahy Burlington want to meet you someday. They want you to come back because you were such a success story for them. My husband had died there, and I think they were even more determined to save me. And so they sent, on Giving Tuesday, they sent a nice donation to North Shore Music Theater with a beautiful letter about, it was so eloquently written about how happy they were that I lived and how sorry they were about losing Stephen. And they wanted to make a donation to the theater in his name. And they were so sorry that I lost my income and this and that. So they made a beautiful donation to the theater. And then Channel 5, the local ABC affiliate, picked up on it, and they wanted to do a story. And I said, I will only do a story if I get to meet those nurses. I said, that's the story. It's not about me. People have heard my story a million times. These are the heroes. I want to meet my heroes. And it's very hard to do this. You know, I had to sign off on a million permissions and all this, and just to coordinate them and with the health risk of COVID. And so we arranged to meet them outside, and I was a wreck about this because I didn't know if I was going to lose my, you know, what on TV or what, seeing them. So 10 of them come out. I was at 10 or 11 of them. I think 10 of them. They come out and they're all standing in front of me, and I was like, oh my God, they're babies. They're like young, beautiful souls that put their own lives on the line to save me. You know, one of them had their baby with them. She had come in on a day off. And I was like, they must go into work every day worrying about bringing this home to their little baby and their partners and their kids and their parents. And so I went into like North Shore Music Theater Karen mode. Like, and I just said, I stood there and I was like, I have to look you in the eye and thank you. I have to thank you for being there for my husband on his dying, when he took his dying breath, when I couldn't be there to hold his hand, you did. And I have to thank you for being there for me when my family and friends couldn't be there to support me. And I said, you became my family. And I said, you weren't just like saving our lives, you were saving our minds, you know, from losing our minds, knowing that somebody loving was there in our care. And so, and they all just stood there, and the reporter said to them, would you guys like to say anything? And they go, we can't follow that. and and they were just, and they said to me, Karen, this is why we do it, so we can see people like you who survived and are thriving, and it makes it all worth it for us, all those horrible hours, and they're still doing it. You're like, wear a mask for these poor healthcare workers who are on the front line trying to save you. Do you know that there are people that are still in such denial that their doctors will say to them, you're not going to make it. Is there anyone you want to call? And they go, this thing isn't real. No, I'll be fine. And then they die. Like, there are countless stories of this. And I'm just like, I can't believe it. So these angels, these healthcare workers, I am so lucky that I got this opportunity that a lot of people don't get. And it was a gift. It was a gift for me, and it was a gift for them, you know, it was a gift for both of us. It was so beautiful.
Yeah. You tell, in the masks are so important. We can't stress that enough to anyone who's watching, because your niece made you a beautiful mask that you had to wear to your husband's funeral.
Yep. she had masks made for us with his with his initials monogrammed on it. And I've said this a million times. I love that mask. I treasure it, but I hope you never have to have one made for your husband's funeral.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's a simple courtesy. Wear your mask. So, you know, the bottom line is, you know, these people that are all complaining, let's just get back to work. Let's get the economy going. Wear your damn mask, and maybe we can go back to work because we can halt this thing. You know, it's like, it's simple. It's really simple.
We only have a couple more minutes here. Jewel Lazarus Higa is a friend of ours from Las Vegas who actually just moved to Massachusetts, and she's a nurse, and her sister and her brother-in-law both have COVID, and they are both COVID deniers. They don't believe that it's real. They think they've been misdiagnosed. Jewel actually wants to make a donation to Stephen's charity. Can you give us that information one more time?
Sure. It's so we decided to give the scholarship money to Montserrat College of Art. Stephen actually went to New England School of Photography, but they're out of business, and we love Montserrat College of Art. They are a wonderful college that almost every student there is subsidized. And so we started the Stephen T. Richard Memorial Photography Scholarship, and you can make a donation. There's a live link there now for his endowment. It's a beautiful endowment that will be there forever. And it's montserrat.edu/Richard Fund. And some really deserving kids will go farther in their career, whether it means we have to buy them a camera or pay for some of their classes. But I think that's what Stephen would have wanted. He was always a real mentor. He was always mentoring kids in photography and teaching them, and he would be really pleased that that's where the money's going. And the people of Montserrat are just such beautiful souls. We always attend their fundraisers because we like to give back to them, because we know, I mean, Stephen's nephew went there, and it's just a wonderful school. They're doing great work, and they're putting out some really great, talented artists in all mediums, you know, but we most of this will go to photography students.
So we have the information up there so people can make the donation. And we had talked about this earlier, but someone had mentioned it online. I hope you do write a book at some point, because you sure as hell have a book in you.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people have said that, you know. Actually, a lot of people say that this should be a movie, and it's, you know, it would be a movie. In my mind, it would be a movie about not only the pandemic and these times, but more than that, it's a love story.
Yeah.
And it's a story of hope and survival and sisters. I mean, there's so much in it. And I always joke, I said to my sister, you know, after like the 50th person said this should be a movie, I looked at her one morning when I was staying with her. I said, who's going to play you? And she said, I think in fairness, it has to be Melissa McCarthy. And I said, and who should play me? And she goes, she didn't like a second. She goes, Sandra Bullock. And I said, so we're not like casting realistically. She goes, well, Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy are such dear friends. And she said, I just think that their energy would be beautiful together. So, you know, I may take a stab at writing it. And
do it.
Because I think the story should be told, you know?
Exactly. And then that's why I wanted you here tonight. And because of what Jules just mentioned, and the fact that so many people still think it's a hoax, they don't take it seriously. What is the message? We're coming up right on the holidays. We're in the middle of the holidays. But what do you want people to walk away with from this when it's all said and done? What's the message you want to send to people?
I mean, the message about the pandemic and the time that we're in right now is just to do the right thing. You know, the reason I do these interviews is because I don't want another family to have to go through the loss that I've gone through. You don't want to have to feel what I've had to feel for the past 9 months. And, but the greater message is that don't lose faith in humanity. I couldn't come back to my house because it was under construction. Steve was a contractor, and there were a lot of rooms torn apart and all sorts of stuff going on. And so I couldn't come back because of the dust. 80 people came to my house and put it back together. Not only did they put it back together, they completely redid the outside of it. I have like a brand new home outside, donated money, donated time, and 80 people lovingly came and restored my house. I'm still unpacking stuff because I don't know where the heck half this stuff is that they put away to get this work done. But don't lose faith in humanity, and always live in a place of gratitude, because do the exercise I used to do with Stephen. What are you grateful for? And I would say, you're laying in bed with a woman who adores you. You live in a beautiful town. You have a beautiful family. We have beautiful friends. You know, you have food in your belly. You have clothes on your back. Just start small. You won't believe the list if you keep saying it. And that's what has been my saving grace, is just live in a place of gratitude, because I am so lucky. You know, I feel like I am George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life. And that was Stephen's favorite movie, and I can't wait to watch it. And because he knew every line, and I've lived it. And I've lived it because he had a lot of good karma coming his way, and I've been the lucky recipient of it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us. Again, I cannot thank you enough. It meant a lot to both of us that you gave us your time tonight. And we hope you have an amazing holiday season. I know it's probably going to be a tough one, but knowing you, you know, you remind me of my friend Marie. You know, you just take a negative and turn it into a positive.
Yeah.
We love you so much.
Thank you. And you've been such a great support. I just want to thank both of you. I know you've been there praying for me, and you've rallied your prayer warriors. And, you know, one of the, you talk about, I'll just quickly say this in closing, because the holidays are certainly going to be rough. One of the things that I've done, rather than avoid the things that I loved to do with Stephen, I'm embracing them. Like if it's a favorite glass we used to drink out of, whatever, I use that glass. And our tradition on Christmas morning was always, we would wake up, we would only do stockings, we never did gifts. And we would lay in bed with our stockings and open them. And I would have Eric Tinstad and Nancy Rumble's The Gift playing. It's a beautiful CD. If you don't have it, you should get it.
Okay.
And we would eat poppycock in bed. And so if everyone should just eat poppycock in bed this year, to know the joy of what it's like. It's a guilty pleasure. And Christmas morning, make sure you have some poppycock, because I'm going to do it.
We will have it in our house.
Yes. Get some poppycock and start Christmas morning off right.
We will have it in our house. And remember, guys, wear your mask, wear your gloves, do what the right people tell you to do. Because once the smoke clears and we get, you know, you want to be able to do what Karen would do. Walk into a room and say, hello, darling, and come on, party.
Come on, party people.
That's it. Karen, thank you so much. And
love you both.
We love you. And I have to, before we tune out tonight, I'm going to announce that we have a wonderful guest on Sunday night, this Sunday night, December 13th at 7 p.m. For all of you who used to run home from school every afternoon at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the 60s for that cult classic Dark Shadows soap opera, Laura Parker Angelique is my special guest this Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And we're going to be talking about Dark Shadows and the rest of her career and the 4 Dark Shadows novels that she's written. So she's joining us Sunday night, December 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you guys will all tune in so you can chat with Angelique. Again, thanks a lot, Karen. We love you so much.
Love you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, good night and God bless.
Mwah.